All right, folks, thank you for continuing to work through the crisis we're in and meeting from different channels. Seem to be getting better with it each time we do it, so let's hope we continue in that direction. We have one agenda item tonight for our committee, and that is amendment number 1 to the agreement with Newfield Construction LLC for construction manager at-risk services for our Windle Cross School project. I'm going to turn it over to Will. Will and Mike, if you guys want to walk us through the highlights of what Amendment 1 actually means for us.
Yeah, I'll just do the quick intro and turn it over to Mike. As you may recall, we entered the contract with Newfield. We're going through the various phases, and we're ultimately going to get to a guaranteed maximum price negotiation once we got through the bids on phase 3 and could better articulate the prices associated with the construction. So we have now engaged through that negotiation process with the return of the bids. Mike has been leading the effort with our council to negotiate with Newfield, and what we have for you tonight is the first amendment to the contract that you previously approved that now puts in that guaranteed maximum price and essentially sets the price for the construction management contract and the services to build the school. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike for the specifics on the pricing.
Okay. So from the work that this committee has done in the past, what was brought before you with phases 1, 2, and 3 was essentially to provide you the overview of what was going to be comprised in the work of each of those phases, and provide the overview of the specifications tied to each of those phases. So just to give you the background on what phases 1 and 2 were, and 3. So phase 1 was for the pre-demolition work that was being performed at the site. Phase 2 was for the site work and concrete work that is actually currently happening at the site. And phase 3 represents the construction of the facility itself, the new school. It is by far the largest phase of the overall group of phases for the project. And it comprised close to 20 different bid packages that were awarded following the bid reviews and the selection of the lowest qualified bidder for each of those bid packages. And the overall construction cost for phase 3 is $30.1 million. And as Will had referenced, it was planned that at this point, once the bids were received and finalized for all 3 phases, that at that point in time, Newfield would be in a position to establish a guaranteed maximum price for the project on the construction side. So again, that construction guaranteed maximum price encompasses the dollar amounts established through the bid pack, the invitation of bids, and ultimately selecting the lowest qualified bidders in each of those trade packages for, again, all 3 phases. And in total, including the construction manager fee tied to the cost of the project, all in, that establishes the guaranteed maximum price at $40,686,638. There is a very small construction contingency that is built into that number. It's approximately, I would say, about $300,000. There is an additional project contingency that's owner controlled, that's separate and apart from that, that will provide us a little bit of flexibility in the event that there's issues identified out of scope or unexpected as we go through the duration of the project. And in the summary that's been provided, just to bring all the numbers together, the total approved project budget previously established was $46.2 million. Again, the guaranteed maximum price that would be established with approval of this amendment number 1 is for $40,686,638. And just additional comment on that, you know, it's then incumbent upon Newfield for all the work that is within scope for the project to bring this project home at that price. If there's any change orders to come about after the fact, or after this point, it would be for items that were identified as out of scope and out of the original designs, essentially add-ons to the project. And any of these type situations will be closely monitored and vetted by the project team that's in place, encompassing our project management team, which has 2 dedicated individuals from the Waterbury Development Corporation, as well as Will, myself, and other individuals that meet on a regular basis to review how things are going with the project. So we have a lot of confidence at this point in time that that $40.7 million number is going to hold. Again, just the condition I would put on that is just in the event we may have to go after additional money if something comes about that was really not expected, or if there's something that wants to be added to the scope at a later point in time. But to hold within the $46.2 million overall project budget, there's not a lot of room for additional out of scope items at this stage. So in addition to the guaranteed maximum price to that $40,686,000, there are project soft costs that are committed to and estimated at $4.3 million. What that encompasses is the money that has been committed for the architectural design and construction management services with Fryer, as well as estimated amounts that have been allocated for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the playscapes, and technology. And the technology, FF&E, and playscapes, those are all items that will be bid at a later point in time in the project. But what I would say decent representative estimates have all been incorporated for those categories within the $4.3 million number. And then lastly is, what is the pot of money that we would have left to draw upon and still stay within the $46.2 million project budget? And that number is a project management contingency of $1,224,000. And that represents approximately 3% of the construction guaranteed maximum price. And just from an overview standpoint, that is the composite of the numbers that we're dealing with. And as far as, again, what you're being asked to address this evening and approve is the formal establishment and agreement with Newfield that their guaranteed maximum price for the project will be that $40,686,638.
Thank you, Michael. Any of the commissioners have a question for Mike or Will at this point? Rocco.
Hi, Mike. It's not really a question. It's a comment. I was involved in the selection committee with the architect and a construction manager at risk. And what I remember back then is that the much higher estimates that we were looking at. And when I saw this 40 million come in, I was very, very happy. I think that Newfield did a great job, and you guys did a great job in negotiating.
Thank you. And I think, to a point, myself recollecting some prior comments at the meetings that we've held with your board in this committee, it wasn't that long ago that, we had concerns that once we got the bids back on the construction side, that we might be in a position of needing to seek additional funding for the project. And fortunately, the overall bids came in the neighborhood of $2.5 to $3 million less than the original estimates on phase 3. And that was coming off of very successful bid packages with both phase 1 and phase 2. We, in all instances on all of the trade packages, we, through Newfield and Fryer and the work that was done with preparing these bid packages and putting them out and advertising them, we got robust responses in every one of the trade categories, or just about every one of the trade categories. And at the end of the day, had some extremely competitive pricing There were some spreads on the pricing in various categories, but at the end of the day, the low bids, those trade contractors were qualified. There were scope reviews that were performed by Newfield in every case. And at the end of the day, you know, certainly it's great to be saying at this point that we're positioned at this point in time, again, you know, with many of the unknowns locked in. We're in a very good place proceeding forward with this project, and crossing our fingers that, you know, over the next, you know, 12 to 15 months that things will continue to play out where there aren't too many surprises or unexpected issues that come about with the project. We are there, just to speak a moment on what's happening with the implications of the COVID virus. The steel manufacturing is currently on hold. There is a steel manufacturing or fabrication plant rather in Canada that has been shut down. We're not certain at this point when that operation is going to reopen, but both Newfield as well as our project representatives at WDC are closely monitoring the situation. At this point, we had a call earlier today, and we're hopeful that, you know, based on where things look like they're progressing with this virus, that there might be a chance that this plant will open up sooner rather than later, and we'll be able to get back on track.
Thank you, Michael. Any of the other commissioners? Rocco, you got a follow-up?
Yeah. Mike, I know there's a holdup with the steel with the COVID. How about all the other construction? Is there anything, see any problems with that going further?
Not at the moment. The site work and concrete work is continuing day in and day out. As a precautionary measure, there was a service that was brought in to check the workers as they were coming in each day onto the site. It was a precautionary step to hopefully stay in front of a situation that could have magnified into a shutdown of the construction site for a period of time. So right now that is working well. Newfield is monitoring it daily. Again, with there's a service company that is taking the temperatures of the workers as they're coming in on site. And additionally, Newfield reported to us this morning that through some of the directives that have been issued through the governor's office, different things with the porta potties and in different things, there's steps that are being taken to further reduce the risk that you could have a further situation or a situation in itself developing at the site. So, Rocco, to answer your question right now, things are still holding well, and the site work and concrete work is proceeding at this stage of the game.
Good.
Any of the other commissioners? Commissioner Sweeney.
Michael, you mentioned the steel and that they're looking at that from Canada, and there's a closed plant. I have family in Alabama, all of whom are still working in the steel mills. Are they looking elsewhere for steel?
Yes.
Is there a reason
Newfield is currently looking at some other options, and you know, it's really all I can speak to at this point is they did comment this morning that they're absolutely looking into some contingency plans in the event that this steel fabrication site doesn't get back up and running in the short term.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners?
No, Jason, Mr. LeBlanc already answered it and Rocco asked it, so I'm okay.
Thank you, Melissa.
Jason?
Go ahead, Karen.
All right. This may be a question for Will. Will, have we started with the provisions of good jobs on the site in terms of, you know, I know there were different things that were mentioned that precautions were taken. Have we started with that, or is that a little bit too soon to bring into effect?
It's at all the bids, the good jobs folks have participated. and made sure it's clear, it's in all the bid packages, the contacts have been made with the forms and the training that it goes with it. Newfield has been on this from day one at their job meetings. Obviously, it's going to kick in more when the construction actually begins, and that's when the monitoring will pick up. But they've been on it, and with the work that's been progressing thus far, we feel confident with the numbers that we're seeing and the oversight that's happening and the connectivity with the Good Jobs folks.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Rocco, Orso again.
Yeah. Hey, Will, is Kathy Awad's group handling the supervision again?
Yes. Yep, they're involved.
Yeah, and I can, just from a procedural standpoint, I can comment that each of the applications, the monthly applications for payment that come in from Newfield, there is a certification sign off that comes from Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board. And essentially that those applications for payment don't get processed without the certification that the compliance for the trade work that is being done to date and billed for is in accordance with the Good Jobs Ordinance.
Terrific, thank you. Any of the other commissioners have a question? How about my Board of Aldermen members? Roger or Mike, you have any questions?
I just got one question for you, for everybody. Just with the state and everything that's going on right now, there's no danger of this project being delayed or the state pulling any money for us. Would that be a issue for us, Mike?
I'm not sensing anything like that at this point. The grant has already been awarded. Their funding commitment of the 46.2 million. We have had many meetings with the Office of School Construction through this process and continue to remain engaged with them. And there's no indication whatsoever that there would be any issues with the commitment for this project remaining in place. And as far as them, suspending the project, if you will, to the comments I made earlier, through the governor's office, they've issued directives for construction sites in certain provisions that should be taken into account. And Newfield has been very responsive in implementing the measures that are being called for by those executive orders from the governor's office. So I think we're okay.
I would just echo that, and a couple other quick points. One, we've been kind of lucky so far with the stage and the bid timing and so forth is very helpful. The work that's going on right now is primarily outside. So as we're maybe cresting, hopefully, to this peak, we're able to keep distance. And we talked about that this morning with Newfield. So that's good. They're not inside in a confined space. So that's helpful. And hopefully we'll be in a much better position when that work starts. But they're taking all sorts of precautions on the job site, as Mike indicated. And also, as Mike said, we are in touch with DAS because this project was already approved. I think it'd be virtually impossible legislatively for them to go back and pull it out. But the bigger issue we're hearing in the state is folks who are in the pipeline. As this is already on board and approved, we feel like it's in good shape and we've gotten those assurances. So we're remaining close with DAS, however, to make sure we're on top of it and the project and the payments keep moving along.
Okay, thanks, Will.
Alderman DiGiovancarlo, anything else?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sounds great.
Thank you. Alderman Sherman, any questions?
No, I would like to echo what Commissioner Orso said and show appreciation for the work involved, Mike, for getting that bid as low as it came in. Thank you.
Carrie Baker, Dave Davidson, my community members, any questions for anybody?
No, thank you.
No, nothing I can think of that hasn't already been addressed.
Thank you both. I had a couple questions for you guys. I just wanted to double check I understood essentially what I'm looking here with these not to exceed prices. So if I was looking at drywall, for example, right now we have 2.9 million pegged against drywall as a cost. Should, as we get through about 90% of the project, they come back and they say, it turns out drywall is going to be 3.3 million. What happens?
So this is where the guarantee comes into play. Newfield, you know, they were involved with putting the bid packages together. They have qualified the lowest responsible bidder, and Newfield in each of the cases with each of these trades has locked in a contract. And there's a lot of specificity, if you will, to each of these trade contracts where, provided it's all in scope work, there is not an opportunity for either the trade or for Newfield to come back and ask for more money as it relates to those specific items. And again, that's where, you know, the benefits of the guarantee come into play, that all of the components of each of these trades have been spec'd out, and it's clear. You know, so the only concern, you know, if there was a concern, would be the identification of something down the road that was determined to be out of scope and had to be dealt with through the construction of the facility. You know, but to your point specifically as it relates to drywall, you know, there's a specific amount of drywall that was called for in the designs, and that was quantified and spec'd out, and the bids were put out with that information, and the pricing of the bids is based on that scope of work.
Okay, perfect. That was the answer I was hoping. What happens on the other side of that coin, Mike? After it's all said and done, drywall became 2.85 million instead of 2.91. Do we realize the savings, or do they take a little bonus off that? There won't really be any savings at that point if you know, well, let me back up. In the event that it was identified through the process that less drywall was needed than what's currently provided for in the scope, then there would be an adjustment down on the pricing. And in that case, it'd be the beneficial side of a change order where you'd actually have a credit back. You know, but everything at this point is tied to the identified scope of work in the specific items within the scope of work. And again, using sheetrock as the example, the specific amount of sheetrock that is called for. So at the end of the day, the variable, if there's a variable, would be just that it's identified at some later point in the project that less was needed than originally planned for. And the other, you know, I guess the flip side of that coin is if down the road it's determined that there was more than was needed because there was an issue with what was called for in the original scope design. Understandable. If the scope changes, obviously the pricing would change. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't, they were going to get that regardless, even if for some reason, somehow a change order that did benefit us occurred, we would actually see the benefit.
Yeah, so it would, you know, with the applications for payment that come in, you know, there's obviously the labor side of it, but there's a material side of it. And, you know, the ultimate amounts that are going to be paid will be based on the materials and the labor associated with the installation of those materials.
Terrific. Commissioner Orso, did you have a question?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for either Mr. LeBlanc or Mr. Clark? Seeing none, then I would ask for one of my committee members to make a motion to approve Amendment 1 for the agreement Newfield Construction for I'll start over. For a motion to send to the full board with approval Amendment 1 to the agreement with Newfield Construction for construction manager at-risk services for the Wendell Cross project.
So moved.
Second.
I have Karen made the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Carrie, do you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Chair Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Okay, 5-4-0 against.
Perfect. Being that that's the only agenda item, the only thing I'd ask before everyone signs off, I think we had some technical issues as we started this meeting. So I'm going to ask Carrie to once again do the roll call because I don't think it made the tape the first time, I'm being told.
Okay. Chairman Jason Van Stone,
Still present.
Commissioner Harvey,
Yes. Here.
Commissioner Orso,
Present.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno,
Present.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Alderman Sherman,
Here.
Alderman Giovancarlo. He was there, right?
He's still here.
Okay. Dr. Ruffin,
Here.
Will Clark,
Here.
Carrie Baker,
Here.
David Davidson,
Here.
Michael LeBlanc,
Here.
and Lauren Elias. No. Okay.
Thank you again, Carrie. Thank you again, everyone participating in this call. A number of you all seen about 30 seconds on a different meeting. If there's no further business, I look for one of my committee members to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. This meeting's adjourned.
Aye.
Thanks, Jason.
Good evening, everyone, to this special meeting for April 9, 2020 of the Board of Education in Waterbury, Connecticut. I hope everyone is safe and healthy while we get through this pandemic that is impacting each and every one of us in many, many, many dimensions. Our first order of business is a silent prayer. And Dr. Ruffin, I don't know if you had any comments as we go into the silent prayer.
Doctor needs to unmute.
Yeah.
You're muted.
And I do have one memorial. So in our moment of silence this evening, let us remember former members of the Waterbury Public Schools education community who have passed away. We have Maureen Gardiosi, a former bus driver for the city of Waterbury, Board of Ed, passed away on April 5th, 2020. Let's remember her in thought and prayer.
Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is for the Pledge of Allegiance. And as a flag, you can look at the flag behind me on the big green monster. And I will do it so that we keep it relatively straightforward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Carrie, would you start off with a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown? Here. Vice President Harvey? Vice President Harvey? Okay, I see you, Karen.
Yeah, let the record reflect that she is here.
Okay, Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Orso?
Here.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Here.
Commissioner Stango? I see you. Commissioner
Let the record-
Sweeney?
Yeah, let the record reflect Charles is here.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone,
Present.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone,
Present.
President Pagano.
Present. Our next item is communications to the board. I would like to get a motion to receive and place on file the communications as listed on the agenda. Commissioner Sweeney, if you can do the honor for me, please.
Motion to receive and place on file communications is listed.
I have a second.
Second.
Discussion? Wait, we're going to do a roll call to keep it more easier, I think.
Go look in my car, right? And there's a
Commissioner Brown? Yes. Vice President Harvey?
there's this stuff that's on the
Commissioner
couch.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Mouth, yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
How can I get this?
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Yes.
President Pagano?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Our next order of business is approval of the minutes that were put on the website, and these are for March 5th, 2020 workshop and a March 26th, 2020 special meeting.
You might have one.
I would like to get a motion to approve the minutes as listed. Vice President Harvey, if you could do the honors.
Mr. President, I move the motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Brown?
Here. I mean, yes.
Vice President Harvey?
Looks like a yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Beautiful.
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Yes.
President Pagano?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Our next agenda item is the superintendent's announcements. Dr. Ruffin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, commissioners. I sent you in advance a PowerPoint presentation. Were you all able to receive it and open it? Because I will be speaking from that.
I have it in front of me.
Me too.
Yes.
And please feel free to ask me any questions as we move along. I may not be able to see you as I'm presenting, but I can hear you. And if you would like, just let me know and I will stop there. I want to preface everything to say this has been a very challenging time for the whole world. It's been a challenging time, certainly for Connecticut and for Waterbury. But I also want to say that there are many people that have been on the ground working collectively on responding to COVID-19. And we've had many collaborative meetings with some of our first responders, as well as the CDC, all of our hazmat crews, our fire and our police department, our city and the district have worked collectively on a lot of things, and we continue to do so. And as recently as today, had a conference call between CABE and the Superintendent's Association and spoke with Dr. Cardona, our Commissioner of Education, and later had an opportunity to have here in the press conference with the governor some of the latest updates. We now know, as of today, we now know that schools will be closed at least through May 20th of 2020. I have been communicating several times with our commissioners as well as with our staff and with our families. And we do regular updates on our web page as well as various communications that go out in many different modes. And I think that with all communication, we still find that sometimes word has not gotten through to as many people as we thought that it has, but we have been very pleased with the response of people taking that information and then driving it down to others who may not have access to it, or who may not have access to an email, or may not have an email account, or perhaps we've lost some phone numbers that were correct at the beginning of the school year, but were not correct as we speak. So it takes everyone during this pandemic, and we're learning a lot of lessons, and we certainly have a lot more learning to go, but the team has worked and continues to work tirelessly, sometimes updating things multiple times in one day as we keep up with what's happening across the world, and certainly as it affects us here in Connecticut and in Waterbury Public Schools. When we began the online, I want to share with you that we already had some information online. We had links online to some of the resources that students have been using in their school day since the beginning of the school time. iReady, Khan Academy. We had other resources that were already on our webpage. It was not considered distance learning. It was just an extension for online learning and continuous learning opportunities. But since March 12th, the evening of March 12th and moving forward, there has been a lot of collaboration over developing a distance learning plan for our school district. And so what you're seeing here is the distance learning site, which became active for everyone on April the 6th. But prior to April 6th, we had teachers and the academic team and others working tirelessly on making certain that this was going to be the platform that we were going to use, and this is how classes were going to be created, where they were going to be posted. And so I want to thank the team with our technology department and a collective that of people that made certain this was possible. As of today, we know that we have approximately 4,376 active Google Classrooms. And that means that our teachers have created those classrooms. It could be multiple classrooms for each teacher, depending on the subjects they teach, depending on the periods that they teach throughout the day. So our teachers have developed over 4,000 active Google Classrooms. That means those are classrooms that can be accessible by our students 24/7. We're using our Waterbury Public Schools Chromebooks that have been distributed. And of the Chromebooks that Waterbury has distributed, not the ones that parents or students may have on their own, but of the ones that we have distributed to our students, 92,362 times the Google Classrooms have been assessed since April 6th. That's pretty impressive. The click here at the bottom right of your screen, if you want to take a look at what that looks like online, you can certainly do that. We start with a very clear description of what it is we're trying to create in Waterbury. So distance learning means that students are being educated without in-person interaction with their instructor or peers. There are different kinds of distance learning or virtual learning that we could implement. I mean, we could do the live interaction where the students have to be there at the same time the teacher is there, but we chose to do asynchronous learning. And that means that the learning that includes a teacher to student and student to student interactions, but it doesn't require for the teachers and the students to be in the same place at the same time. This allows for our students to be able to access what the teachers have prepared for them anytime, anytime that they choose to. It does not mean, however, that there is no interaction between students and teachers. It just occurs differently, and our students can view the lessons that the teachers have prepared 24/7. We do have students and teacher interaction so that students and teachers can elaborate on the lesson, and teachers have an opportunity to continuously instruct their students if they do not understand something. We have also distributed over 42,000 packets of materials that assist our students, both the ones that have computers and the ones that do not in particular. The packets distribution will begin for its third round on April 20th. And these materials are to continuously help our children learn. They are meant to add additional resources so that students can remember what they've learned before our school was out on March 13th, as well as they allow our students and our parents to have something in hand, especially if they are not with computers and they do not have full access to the online resources. And so it's meant for students to continue to learn in the absence of a computer, but I want to also share that some of our parents and students that have computers are utilizing those as well. They are aligned to the learning that we are implementing within the district, but they are not the exact same. And so it does allow for our students to ask questions of their teachers when their teachers will communicate with them, but the students may not be communicating with their students via virtual learning. It could be by telephone and those kinds of contacts that are going to continue, especially for students who may not have access to a Chromebook. Those packets are available for our preschool to 12th grade, as well as its activities too, that parents can make certain that students have a quiet place so that they could work. Both the virtual, the distance learning, as well as the packets are not intended for students to sit for 6 hours and work nonstop. It's meant to be able to help learn in intervals, and it allows for much flexibility on the part of students and families and teachers and students to be able to continue to learn in this very new and different environment. We also have, in addition to the home packets, we have some additional online resources. Those online resources help students to expand their learning. And they could be resources in science or some reading materials. They're connected to the curriculum that our board approved both last year and this year. There are extended learning opportunities with Khan Academy. There is a connection with iReady, which the district also utilizes. And those resources have been accessed by our students and families over 23,000 times since school closed. Additionally, we have a parent page, and it's available in both Spanish and Albanian. We provide those resources because we know oftentimes parents and all of us are learning something that is very new and not quite familiar with us. So we want to establish what the role of the student is, what the role of the teacher is, and what the role of the family is in the child's learning. And so these are some frequently asked questions, as well as what are their expectations, as well as tutorials and videos to help all of us navigate this new way of learning or this expanded way of learning for both the teacher, the student, and the parent. And of course, this site is active. It's active 24/7 for parents who come in and want to maybe get a little update or just to learn a little bit more about what is happening in the classroom and what that might look like for their child as the children are working independently, or sometimes the children could be working with the parent there by their side. We have a technology and food update for you. There have been over 2,000 Chromebooks distributed to the high schools, and today we began with middle schools today, so a little over 2,000 Chromebooks have been distributed to date. We will continue after spring break with the middle school and the elementary distribution. We have nearly 100 devices that have been distributed to staff to support distance learning. Because we wanted to also ensure that our teachers and the staff who were helping the students had access to the computers so that they could design lessons and they could continue to prepare so that students can continue to learn. It's been over 120,000 meals served over the last 3 weeks, and our meals will continue for this Good Friday as well as over the April break, and the meals will continue for the duration of the school closures. Meals are served at 23 sites, and we try to make certain that we maintain those sites as we continue to distribute computers. For instance, we utilize the high school for the high school distribution, but we also utilize the high school and the middle school feeder patterns to receive their computers at the high schools for safety reasons. The less traffic into multiple areas, the better. And so that's where we always keep the health for our staff and our students and our families at the forefront in the decisions that we make and as we move along, and we make certain that we're following all the safety precautions. We have several projects, and you've just seen some of the project overview and what we're going to be recommending moving forward with Rendell Cross. That continues. We also have some elevator projects, as you can see here: Hopeville, Chase, Kingsbury, and Sprague. Those are also moving forward. Our schools are being cleaned daily, feeding centers, and then a deeper clean throughout the school, not only the feeding centers, but a deeper clean throughout the schools. We have an opportunity to do that in a strategic way now that schools are closed, and for the most part, most people are not in the buildings at all, except for our maintenance crew and our food service employees, as well as sometimes, because of the distribution of computers and soon the distribution of scholastic books, then there's a very limited area in the schools where someone is actually inside. We also have security camera project that's moving forward. It allows the district to upgrade the platform and add thousands of cameras. And then the project continues throughout the summer for over 20 schools in our district. We had RFPs earlier for copy replacement and print management. Those projects are moving forward. We anticipate something to occur in late spring and early summer. We also have maintenance projects across the district that are being completed in terms of painting, masonry, landscaping, and we have the delivery of the academic packets, which occur bi-weekly, and we have crews helping and assisting with that. In terms of our budget, we are in constant communication with the State Department as well, and we have received some guidance and some direction, and continuously expecting more as we are out of school for even longer periods of time through at least May 20th. The state is applying for a waiver for all federally funding flexibility. I think they've already done that. The state funding balance and all of the state-funded grants will be paid through June 30th of 2020. Our alliance districts, of which we are one, we are able to extend due to state statute. We will be able to utilize any funding that we may not utilize this year and carry it over for next year. Other state grants are pending further guidance from the State Department. Excess cost grant, the payment will be based on the March 2020 filing. And of course, our excess costs will be it will be included in the April 2021 ECS payment. Due to the Federal CARE Act, the state has applied for the distribution of funds similar to entitlement grant formula. The governor's emergency education release, there's more guidance forthcoming. We're establishing details for payment of staff, transportation contracts, special education services due to the governor's executive order. We've gone back to the table. We've collaborated. We're still doing that with various contracted services and others to be able to determine a method of payment moving forward. Our costs associated with COVID-19 thus far, we've had that we know of. We have 20,000 approximately every 2 weeks for the printing packages that we have for our students that are being picked up at the 25 sites where meals are being served. This is for continuous learning, especially for those students without computers. We have spent approximately $85,000 for protection and device tracking software before distribution of those Chromebooks. That is also very helpful in us not only protecting the Chromebooks and access, but it also allows us to be able to know how frequently our students are utilizing the Chromebooks for the purpose of ongoing distance learning activity. We have a maintenance staff and technology staff extra pay due to Chromebook distribution. And we have staff receiving extra pay for the packet preparation and distribution, which is ongoing, as I said, approximately once every 2 weeks. Our communication and our communication plan, we communicate at least 3 to 4 times a week. It's via a formal letter, social media, iris alerts, and you can see the communication that we have issued since March on the website. It continues to be there. All communication is posted there. We also have the frequently asked questions, and we've posted those both in multiple languages, and they're posted on our website. We keep those current. Those are usually responses to questions that will come in through our central office email. Some work that is ongoing, certainly our budget planning and budget considerations for moving forward and for planning the year 2021. And also staffing as we anticipate what our staffing needs are going to be. We've held a couple of job fairs virtually, and we plan to continue doing those and to continue staffing our schools so that we are going to be ready whenever school opens for the next school year. We're also scheduling and we're anticipating the continuous development of our learning plan. We have yet to address grading, but we will be doing that within the next week or so. And by that, I mean we have some options for how our students are graded. And we're going to be talking amongst ourselves and with you, commissioners, as well as with our teachers and principals. But we do believe that we have to be very clear on how grading will look in our school districts. As I understand, the commissioner said today that some of the decisions about how we grade will be left up to the districts, and several options are available, including certainly the traditional way of grading, which I'm not necessarily in favor of, but definitely looking at pass with distinction, pass incomplete, which could be an option, failing, based on where the student is in their learning, not necessarily the traditional way of applying an A, B, C, D, or an F. There's some conversations that have been ongoing with colleges and universities about their acceptance of a pass-fail, since this is a pandemic. So there's some consideration there, as well as consideration for how this is not going to affect our students athletically either, because colleges and universities they're at the table talking about how grades could look differently during this pandemic moving forward, so that our students will never be negatively affected. And then, of course, graduation 2020. I have a virtual meeting with our seniors that our principals have invited to a meeting with me on April the 14th at noon to hear them, and also to talk about what graduation could look like for the class of 2020. And then I'll give some updates after I've had an opportunity to talk with the seniors and principals and others as we try to make certain that while this is very different for all of us, that our students will have good memories, that we will learn from this pandemic, and that while it is very challenging right now, and from day to day, we're still operating in some unknowns, we believe that there's a lot of lessons that we will learn, and that we will emerge as a stronger system and a stronger community at the end of this, though it's hard to say right now. But there's definitely going to be some lesson learned from this that will help propel us into the future. And so for right now, that's the end of my presentation, but I will answer questions if I know the answer at this time.
Dr. Ruffin, thank you. And from, I think I'm speaking for the entire board, applause to you and your central leadership circle. No one ever calculated what was going to happen with this pandemic hitting. And thank you very much. Any questions? Raise your hand. Melissa.
Hi, Dr. Ruffin. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I can.
My question is basically, are the employees' temperatures being checked, especially for those employees that are still working at the schools?
At this moment, I couldn't tell you that. Maybe my CRO can answer that question. I do not know if the temperatures are being checked. I do know that distancing is being adhered to, as well as masks and gloves. But Will, could you answer that question? Are temperatures being taken?
No, Dr. Ruffin, and you hit it on the head. We have been working very closely with the fire department. The hazmat group helped us set up all the distribution locations and the plans associated with that, along with Adam Rinko from the fire department. We've been working with them as far as PPE, gloves, masks, and so forth, with the food service workers and custodial workers, and also with the staff who are distributing the computers. We have inquired about the temperature gauges and so forth. They're actually in quite short supply, as you probably know, Melissa, from your work. So we don't have that luxury. That all those types of resources are actually being sent over to the hospital, fire department, those emergency responders. But again, we are working very closely with our partners, engaging in best practices, and as Dr. Ruffin indicated, really focusing on the social distancing and the PPE that we can give staff. We've handed out actually masks today for the folks who are helping with crossing guards and other functions. So we've extended that out with everybody.
Thank you, Will and Dr. Ruffin. I appreciate that, as I'm sure the employees understand the importance of safety, and that just hopefully that they continue to comply with what's going on if they're not feeling well, to stay home instead of going to work. So thank you. I just wanted to follow up on that.
Commissioner Tom Vanstone, I thought I saw your hand up.
You did. I was just going to echo the same thank yous to Dr. Ruffin and her staff. Probably the public image is probably all negative, but we know differently. I hope folks maybe watching on TV today are hearing that we're doing everything possible. You guys have done a great job of handing out whatever form of media we could, and where we can't, certainly handing out paper lessons. So I just wanted to also say you guys are doing a phenomenal job, especially those that are still going into the buildings to do what I just mentioned. I greatly appreciate it. The public better appreciate it because you're doing a great job. So once again, I would just like to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Vanstone. Vice President Harvey, did I see your hand up? We cannot hear you, Karen. We'll have to move on. Anyone else have another question or comment? Commissioner Orso, I see your hand up. You're still muted, Rocco.
Unmute.
Unmute. How's that?
Beautiful.
Again, like everybody said, you're doing a great job, Dr. Ruffin. But also, I'm sure a lot of times teachers and the education department get maligned sometimes but I'm sure a lot of the parents really appreciate what our teachers do for their students, knowing that they're the teachers right now, and it's a little tough being at home with the students all the time. And I think they're going to appreciate the teachers much, much more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocco. And Elizabeth Brown, Commissioner Brown.
Hi, everyone. Again, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. I had a question in terms of projected use. How many computers do you think we're going to need to really make them available to everyone? Do we have a sense of what we're going to need and what our budget might look like in order to make that happen?
Commissioner, to answer your question, no, I do not have a sense of what that looks like, because the middle school at this point, I want to back up just a little bit. The closer we were able to get to the student, which is between the teacher and the student, the more accurate we were able to determine how many students actually had a computer or internet access. And that's how we were able to drive the data down to a need as opposed to an estimate. So the teachers are remarkable. You are so right, commissioners, that, and the principals have done an amazing job. The closer we get to the student and the student contact, the more accurate our data is. So in answer to your question, Commissioner Brown, no, I do not know how many computers, because the data that comes in when a teacher connects with a child and the child says, I have a computer and internet access, or I don't have a computer, but I have internet access, that triggers the next step, which is to request a computer if they are capable of having one at home with internet access. And then we have a way of, by school, distributing those based on when students come in to pick up that laptop or to pick up the Chromebook. And students don't come and pick up the Chromebook necessarily on the first day. And so, and sometimes, as with the high schools, when the first group of students that came to pick up, it seemed to have made other students aware and other families aware, oh, this is really happening. And so there was a little confusion about, well, I don't have a computer, so I'm going to show up at the school. Well, that's not how it works. You have to be able to first of all, we want to know, do you have those two things? Do you have internet access, and do you need a computer versus I just want a computer? So we stopped with the high school. We are proceeding with the middle school, and we've had one day of distribution with the middle school. And depending on how many middle school students will actually come in to pick up their computer, that will tell us how many computers, if we have any, that we will be able to move to the elementary level. So a response to your question is no, we do not know at this point how many we will actually need until we know how many will actually be picked up by the students who say that they need them. And then the other question is about the budget and how do we budget forward. Money cannot solve this issue. I mean, definitely we're not going to refuse any of the funding, and definitely with additional funding we can plan in the future for more computers. But I'll give you an example. The 60,000 computers that were so generously awarded to the Alliance districts, that's a donation, and it comes from a foundation. But those 60,000 computers going to 33 districts are not anticipated to be here for many weeks.
Right.
More than 3, more than 6. They may not be here till the summer. And so production is a key. When this pandemic occurred, it affected people's jobs. So some of the production has slowed as a result of that.
Yep.
Yeah, China.
Okay, thank you very much.
China was shut down, so all production went into halt. And
Right.
now every school district on the planet is trying to catch up. And now they're totally over requested for RFIs for purchase for next year. It's going to be a different problem. Commissioner Harvey, are you unmuted? Did you have a comment? I don't think she can hear me. Karen, can you hear me? Okay. Any other questions for the superintendent? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. I don't see anybody's hand waving, right? This is like looking at Hollywood Squares on steroids from this position. The president's comments are going to be very brief. We're living in history. No one could have planned this. No one could have expected anything but keeping our head above the water. So, Dr. Ruffin, to you and your staff and to my fellow board members, thank you for your collegial teamwork. We're working definitely out of the comfort zone that each and every one of us would love to see. But in reality, nothing is in the comfort zone anyway. So I thank you for your flexibility. I thank you for making this a fairly smooth board meeting. I think Commissioner Tom Van Stone sent a little note out that we look pretty good on TV. Tom, is that true? And that's without makeup. Teach everyone of you, thank you. Stay healthy, stay safe. Our first agenda item is under Section 8, the Committee on Building and Finance School Facilities. The request approval of an Amendment 1 to the agreement with Newfield Construction LLC for construction management at risk services for the Wendell Cross School project. I'm looking for a motion to approve Amendment number 1 to the agreement with Newfield Construction Group LLC for the construction manager at risk services for the Wendell Cross pre-K to 8th grade school construction project. Commissioner Jason Van Stone, would you do the honors?
Mr. Chairman, I move that agenda item.
May we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing that, and seeing that no one has raised their hand, I will call a roll call vote with Carrie. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
I think that was a yes. He's muted.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Yes.
President Pagano?
Yes.
10-0, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Our next item is Committee on Finance for transfers in the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. I'm looking for a motion to approve
There's
transfer.
nothing there.
Yes.
Hold on. Anybody talking? All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve transfers for fiscal year 2019-2020 totaling $4,057,500 as listed on the document. Commissioner Rocco Orso, would you do the honors?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a discussion? I see no hands. I see nodding heads. So, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Yes.
President Pagano?
Yes.
10-0, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Next agenda item 9.2, I'm looking for a motion to approve an operations and maintenance services agreement with Baystate Elevator Company for elevator maintenance and repairs at various schools. Commissioner Rocco Orso, would you do the honors?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? I see a lot of nodding heads. So, Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call?
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Orso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone,
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone,
Yes.
President Pagano.
Yes.
10-0, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Our next agenda item is 9.3. It is I'm looking for a motion to approve an operations and maintenance services agreement with Train US Inc. for chiller maintenance and repairs at various schools. Commissioner Rocco Orso, would you?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Madam Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Vice President Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Orso,
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno,
Yes.
Commissioner Stango,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone,
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone,
Yes.
President Pagano.
Yes.
10-0, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Next one is 9.4. I'm looking for a motion to approve a maintenance services agreement with the SNE Building Systems Incorporated for maintenance services for building management systems, system support services, and temperature controlled at various schools. Commissioner Orso, would you do the honors and make a motion?
Make a motion. So moved.
May I have a second? Any discussion? Should we take a chance and just do an aye, nay, or let's go?
Yes.
I see Jason nodding his head affirmatively. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no.
Thank you.
The ayes have it. Our next item is section 9.5. I'm looking for a motion to approve a construction contract with Baystate Elevator Company for hydraulic elevator in-ground cylinder replacement at Regan School. Commissioner Orso, would you do the honors and make a motion?
I make a motion.
May I have a second?
Second. Second.
Discussion. No discussion? Let's do it one more time. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Section 9.6 is our next one. I'm looking for a motion to approve the healthy food option pursuant to CGS section 10-215F and certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or by non-school organizations and groups. I need a drink. Commissioner Rocco Orso, would you do the honors and make a motion?
I make a motion.
May I have a second? Thank you. Discussion. How did I do reciting that? Did I do it perfectly?
Good. I'm impressed.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Section 9.7. You may want to sit back. This is going to be a lengthy lecture. I'm looking for a motion to approve to participate in the Connecticut State Department of Education's Healthy Food Certification Program pursuant to Section 10-215F of the Connecticut's General Statutes and will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in Section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. Number one, the sale is in connection with an event occurring at the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. Number two, the sale is at the location of the event. And number three, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is a period from midnight before the 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means the event is being held. Where the event is being held, I'm sorry. Commissioner Rocco Orso, I'm begging you for a motion.
Motion.
I am also begging someone for a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?
think I heard Karen.
Yep.
I'm here. I'm here.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chuck. You're doing a good job, buddy.
I'm working overtime here. I think we're going to have a bourbon after this one. Section 9.8, the request, I'm looking for a motion to approve to apply for the Connecticut State Department of Education's Individuals with Disability Acts, IDEA, Grant 2021. Commissioner Orso, you have.
Make a motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Oh, I see Ann's got her little thumb up. That was a second.
Yeah, but now I can't get it off.
No talk. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Section 10, the superintendent's notification to the board. I'm looking for a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's notification to the board, items 10.1 and 10.2 as listed.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I would like you to read them all.
I know where you live. I know where you live. I'll come up and do it personally for you, Thomas. All right. That's item 10 is done. And the best part of the entire docket right now is section 11. I
make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, happy holy days over the weekend. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your commitment. Be good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night to
Take
Hawaii, Darren.
Thank you,
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Have a great,
Thank you,
Bye. Have a
Dave,
great
Will.
weekend.
Thank you. You too. Happy Easter.
Anita, you should have shared your food.
Man, they told me that.